But what was funny about it is Jim Stewart said, he said, that's pretty good. He said, if we decide to put that out, he said, if you guys got another song you can put on the B-side. He called it the B-side. And we said, no. I mean, we looked at each other. We didn't sit around and write all the time, you know. Booker and I wrote a little bit, and I looked at Booker. I said, I don't know. I said, I remember you played me some kind of riff or a lick about 2 weeks prior to that session. And he said, I don't know. He said, well, I think I might remember. And he goes out on the organ and he starts playing the kind of the Green Onions lick that we know, you know. I said, yeah, that's it. So Al sat down and Louis sat down on the bass, and we started jamming on this thing. And Jim said, that's pretty catchy. He said, you know, let's get an arrangement on this. And so we did this thing. And so Jim said, you know, that's pretty good. He said, but Steve, he said, that thing you're doing in the middle of the song, he said, why don't you put that on the intro? Just do that on the intro and play a verse like that, then let Booker play, and then you do a regular solo. And I went, oh, okay. And that was the take. I put these chink things I was doing on the intro. Booker plays 2 verses, I played a solo, Booker played a verse, and that was it. It was out. And it was just sort of an accident in a way.
The news hit like a sudden silence in the middle of a familiar song, the kind of moment that makes the world stop, listen, and realize something irreplaceable has slipped away. Steve Cropper, the legendary guitarist whose riffs shaped the sound of modern soul music, has died at the age of 84. For generations of listeners, musicians, and dreamers, his guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was a voice. And today, that voice falls quiet, leaving behind echoes that will last forever. From the first time someone heard the unmistakable groove of Green Onions or felt the emotional pulse of Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay, Steve Cropper had already become part of their life story, whether they knew his name or not. He was one of those rare artists whose influence seeped into everyday life. Music played in cars, in kitchens, in crowded parties, and lonely nights. Cropper helped shape all of it without ever demanding the spotlight. The news of his death came from his family, who shared that he passed away in Nashville on Wednesday. The cause was not immediately known, but the shock, the heartbreak, and the sense of loss spread instantly. For many, it felt like losing the soul of an era, a bridge to a time when music was built with grit, sweat, and raw heart. Those who knew him personally described not just a musical genius, but a gentle, grounding presence. "He's such a good human," said longtime associate Eddie Gore, a simple sentence that carried enormous weight. In an industry built on ego and noise, Cropper stood out because of his humility. "We were blessed to have him," Gore added, and anyone who ever felt the groove of a Stax classic would agree. To understand who Steve Cropper was, you don't start with awards or chart numbers. You start with a sound, a certain kind of rhythm, a style that wasn't flashy, wasn't showy, but was absolutely unforgettable. He played guitar the way great storytellers write, with just enough detail to draw you in, but never so much that it overshadows the truth underneath. His riffs didn't clutter the mix, they clarified it. They brought soul into focus. For decades, Cropper was a crucial part of Booker T. and the MGs, the legendary Memphis backing band that powered some of the greatest soul hits ever recorded. Their work at Stax Records became the foundation of the Memphis sound, a sound that changed American music forever. Every riff mattered. Every chord had weight. And at the center of it, shaping, guiding, and elevating the music, was Cropper. Yet one moment in particular immortalized him for millions, a moment that wasn't planned, scripted, or even designed to be a tribute. It was 1967. Sam and Dave were recording Soul Man, a track that would go on to become one of the most influential soul songs in history. And right in the middle of the song, Sam Moore stopped and called out, "Play it, Steve." What followed was pure magic, a tight, ringing riff, sharp as sunlight, that Steve played using a Zippo lighter to create that bright, sliding tone. It wasn't just a musical cue. It became a cultural moment. That shout-out became synonymous with Cropper himself, a nod to a musician whose impact didn't need words, but was powerful enough to earn them anyway. Years later, the moment was recreated in the Blues Brothers when Cropper joined John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd both in the studio and on stage. He appeared in the original 1980 film and its sequel, playing the Colonel in the band, not as an actor pretending to be a musician, but as a real musician stepping into a new kind of spotlight. He toured with the Blues Brothers in real life, bringing his soulful prowess to crowds who may not have known his history, but felt every note he played. When fellow artists spoke about him, they didn't mince words. Keith Richards, one of the greatest guitarists to ever live, once said about Cropper, "Perfect man." Coming from Richards, a musician who understood craft at the deepest level, that simple praise said more than an essay ever could. And the recognition kept piling up. In 1992, Steve Cropper was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Booker T and the MGs. Rolling Stone ranked him 39th on its list of the 100 greatest guitarists, describing him as the secret ingredient in some of the greatest rock and soul songs. He entered the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2005. In 2007, he received a Grammy Award for Lifetime Achievement, an honor reserved only for the most influential figures in music. But even with all the accolades, Steve Cropper never stopped playing, never stopped creating, never stopped searching for new ways to communicate through sound. Many artists slow down as they age, but Cropper kept moving, kept recording, kept pushing. In 2024, he released Friendly Town, an album that earned a Grammy nomination and proved he still had the same spark that brought him to Stax as a young man and helped shape a generation of music. Earlier this year, he received the Tennessee Governor's Arts Award, the highest honor an artist can get in the state. It was a final, fitting acknowledgement for a man who didn't just contribute to Tennessee's musical identity, he helped build it. But behind all the awards, the tours, the film appearances, and the iconic riffs, Steve Cropper's legacy comes down to something deeper. Something human. Something timeless. His playing was proof that music doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't have to be complicated to be unforgettable. The magic of Cropper's work was that he never played a note he didn't need. Every lick served the song. Every chord served the story. And in an age of excess, that kind of discipline, that kind of dedication to the music rather than the ego, is rare. People who worked with him say he brought calm into chaotic recording rooms. He brought humor into long nights. He brought kindness into an industry that often forgets what kindness looks like. And he brought soul, not the genre, but the essence, into everything he touched. Today, fans, musicians, and fellow legends mourn. The Stax Museum of American Soul Music in Memphis, built on the site where Cropper worked for years, now becomes not just a museum, but a living archive of his influence. Nashville, the city where he spent his final days, stands quieter now. And around the world, countless people are putting on Green Onions or Soul Man or Dock of the Bay with a different kind of attention, feeling the notes like a goodbye letter. The truth is, artists like Steve Cropper don't really die. Their bodies may leave the world, but their art becomes eternal. Every time a young guitarist picks up an instrument and tries to imitate that sharp, soulful tone, a little bit of Cropper lives on. Every time a song plays that he helped bring to life, he's there, between the notes, inside the groove, hidden in the heart of the rhythm. And maybe that's the beauty of a legacy like his. It doesn't fade. It doesn't dim. It just keeps moving forward, carried by the music he left behind. Steve Cropper leaves this world the same way he lived in it, quietly, gracefully, and with a sound that will outlive us all. Play it, Steve. Now and always. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to daily updates and never miss a video.